If you're already in business, that means you do have some product market fit. That means those buyers see something in you as differentiators.
My guest on this episode is Trinity Nguyen. She is the CMO at UserGems. She joined the company 5 years ago as the first business hire, and now she's CMO after joining as head of marketing 5 years ago. She came up through product marketing. That was her background. That's her area of expertise.
I really like the strategic aspects of it, shaping the product direction, shaping the narrative, competitive intelligence, all that stuff.
Today, she runs a marketing team of 11 at UserGems, and her company helps demand gen teams and sales leaders boost revenue by providing signals to intelligently engage with the buyers that are most likely to convert. We talk about her background in product marketing, the role of product marketing in a startup, running an ABM playbook at UserGems. They target 500 accounts per quarter. We talk about what that actually looks like and how they execute on it. And we talk about why she's completely changed her mind on the power of AI for Outbound. Here's my conversation with Trinity.
1, 2, 3, 4. Exit.
You know, it's funny, you were talking about Vermont. One of the Exit 5 members, this guy, Dimitri, and he said when he posted a picture from the airport flying from Chicago, and he said, I'm heading to the B2B marketing mecca of the United States. This is Burlington, Vermont. So tell me about UserGems. So you're a CMO at UserGems. What is UserGems?
We're software for sales and marketers. Basically, we capture buying signals to help you prioritize who to target, when and why, and then help you execute it too.
And give me people like to get an overview so they can kind of see this in their mind, but like how many employees, roughly what stage is the company? If you can share any type of like company milestones, that's helpful. Because we're going to get into talking about like the marketing team, your views on marketing, how you do things. But if we can kind of set the stage for the company, it's helpful.
Yeah, we definitely startup. So we're at around 60 employees, 100% remote, spread out between Europe and US. The stage of the company, so we're past, we're around, I'm trying to think what I could. So basically, we're in the teens in terms of revenue, still growing. And
$15, right? Yeah.
$15, yes.
Yeah.
$1,500.
All right, cool. No, that's good. That's helpful. 60 people, teens, that's good. Okay. And you, and how many people are in the marketing team?
So in marketing, we have both the SDR team we call ADRs and the marketing. So in total, we have around, I say 11.
Nice.
10, 11.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's marketing owns the SDRs. I just had Chris Walker on my podcast last week, and his whole worldview is marketing should own SDRs.
100,000%. Yes, Chris. Keep repeating it.
Well, let's jump into that. Let's jump off of the deep end now. And okay, so you got 11 folks on the marketing team. What was the state of the company when you joined 5 years ago?
I was the first business hire. So there were 2 co-founders and 2 engineers. So I was number 5. So I don't know, pre-seed.
Did they raise? Raise money? No.
It was 100% bootstrap.
Wow. And did they pay you in money? Did you get paid?
I did get paid.
Okay.
Limited. Definitely it was fun time. It's definitely pirates and romantics kind of thing, right?
Well, where were you? Where were you at stage of your career to do that? To decide to go and do that?
Yeah, this one is an interesting experience. So I was a principal product marketing at a Series B/C startup before. So I would say not early career, a little bit in. And then I decided to do a break, a sabbatical. Because I want to take a break and I reevaluated things. And the thing is after you're kind of traveling around the world and your brain kind of rewired and rebalanced, somehow it enabled you to take a lot more risk than you normally would, because there was no way the Trinity of 2014 would have said that she would join that early of a company.
Why is that?
That's how it started.
And why? Why not?
I think a little bit of the situation. So I was on visa. So the first generation immigrant here, just got my citizenship a couple years ago. So that put a lot of natural restrictions there. And then also it kind of inhibits you from taking a lot of risk because you don't have the natural family safety nets in the US.
Yeah. Wait, forgive my ignorance. But what type of restriction does that put on your ability to like join or not join a company?
Yeah, in order to so you go to school and then you have some kind of like visa that can let you work for like an internship for a little bit. But actually to work as an employee, the company has to sponsor you. And to sponsor us, you do a lot of paperwork. You have to hire lawyers, do the whole like red tape situation.
Got it.
And hopefully you will get the job. So a lot of companies don't want to sponsor international students because of that. So that's just kind of like put a lot of restrictions, like where you can apply for a job and then who you can hire. So
okay. And so did that impact your decision to choose a company? And you also got your MBA, right?
yeah, I did my MBA in Kellogg, Northwestern. Yeah. It definitely does. So that's why you don't see a lot of international students start a startup or join a very early stage startup. You always need to be sponsored by a company. Yeah. When I joined, I already got my permanent residence. So that's why I could do it.
Okay.
The bootstrap startup did not sponsor me.
I was going to say, yeah, there's a lot of legal and overhead. As someone who is building a company for the first time, we have six employees, and even just having one person who's in Canada, like all the nuances that I didn't think of, like, oh, I'll talk to my accountant or my, finance person. I'm like, hey, we got this guy. Nope, can't do this. Nope, can't do that. Nope, can't do that. Got to pay him this way. Got to do it this way. It's crazy. And it makes you think about all of from a company side, to start a company, how much, all the things that you need to have in place if you truly want to build a global company. You truly can't just hire somebody from anywhere and put them on payroll and that's it, right?
Yeah, I learned that too through UserGems. Initially, it's like, oh yeah, we have tools, we have deals, we have like this tool, that tool, we can hire anyone. And then finance, like, wait a minute, you need to be legally compliant in all these countries.
All right, so you're a principal in product marketing. Product marketing is your thing. While you're doing product marketing, did you have a eye towards like, I want to be head of marketing, I want to run marketing, or did you join UserGems with like a kind of product marketing lens to help the company grow?
The latter. I knew that I wanted to run marketing team at some point, but I didn't really spend that much time dwelling about it. I really like product marketing. I really like the strategic aspects of it, shaping the product direction, shaping the narrative, competitive intelligence, all that stuff. I really like product marketing. So I just thought that like, well, UserGems just started. My previous company was one of their first customers. So I was familiar with the product. And when I was like, backpacking in Europe and got bored after 3 months of just looking at churches, I went to the website and I'm like, this website is horrendous. There's no way you're going to be able to find any customer if your website stays this way. So I was in Lisbon. I'm like, well, let me, rebuild your website for you as a side project because I was so bored.
Wait. So they hired you as a contractor to build a website?
I volunteered. I was that bored out of my mind. I'm like, let me just figure out Webflow and rebuild the website for you.
Okay, but how did you pick this company? How did you pick UserGems?
Well, I know the company already. I knew back then the company I was at was a customer of UserGems. So I knew the team, I knew the product. I did not see the website until that summer.
Got it. But you had been using the product, but they had no business people. They had no marketing. They had no sales.
Yeah, founder-led sales. So the CEO was the seller.
That's crazy. Okay, so I hope this improved the number of shares you have when you built their website for free in the early days. So you rebuild the website on Webflow. Do you have design skills? How did you design it?
Heck no. I'm like the worst designer ever.
Yeah.
But like, I think that's the nice thing about when you take a break from your regular kind of like hop off the hamster wheel, then you feel more free to try different things. And I'm like,
that's
well,
how I feel about AI right now. Like I think because I'm not a head of marketing, I'm just an entrepreneur. Like, but we got 5-6 people on the team. I have some freedom to do what I want. Like I find myself playing more again and building a landing page and trying to do this thing with the video. And I'm having fun. Like, I think those things are so important. I think you gotta stay in the game that way. And like, as you grow in your career as a marketing leader, so much of the job becomes this like management of people and not what brought you into the job at the first place, which is like, no, I like telling the story. I want to make something. And so it's cool to hear you say that.
I love that. I'd love to see what you're doing with the website using AI in the video. Yeah, it's just so hard to keep up with all the changes and updates and AI. And
it's too much.
I know
it gives me anxiety. I go to, I follow this one person. There's this one resource that I follow on LinkedIn, and this person is amazing at like sharing what's happening in AI. Every freaking week, man, it's like, boom, Google Gemini released this new update and you need to study it now because it's going to blow your mind. I'm like, okay, all right. And then I, spend a whole day reading that. And then like the next day, it's like, no, Claude, you need to use Claude. And I'm like, okay, all right. And then it's like, ChatGPT 7.0 came out and and I'm like, it's insane.
It's so much. I seriously don't know how people keep up with it.
I don't know. And then I'll be out on a walk or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, screw all that. Just trust your gut. Like you don't, make a to-do list of like, here's the 15 things. Like I need to build my AI avatar. I need to do all this stuff. All right. Anyway, so we'll talk about AI. We got a lot to talk about AI. So you build, you rebuild the site. They're like, this site is awesome. Oh my gosh, we have better product marketing now. Do you want to come work here full time?
Mm-hmm. That's kind of like what happened. And I said yes, but there were some conditions before I signed that offer letter. The first one is that I want the SDR team to be under marketing. The founder back then didn't know like all these complexity of revenue alignment, account-based marketing. He's probably like, whatever, sure.
All right,
you want to do more? I'll give you more.
Whatever you want. Wait, was there even a sales team at that point? No. So you're like, when we have a sales team, I want them to
exactly. I was the first SDR and the marketer, but I put that in the offer letter because we went through a bunch of like account-based before how to align sales team and SDR and marketing. It was a nightmare. The team was great. It's just really hard to align. And I went through that process. I'm like, you know what? This is not how I want to run the business. So I put that in there. And yeah, it was easy because there was no sellers.
Okay. And what was so you decide to join the company, you're head of marketing, first business person at the company. What do you do? Where do you start? What did you do at the time?
Well, I tapped into my major. So product marketing. So trying to kind of figure out like the positioning and messaging. Winter didn't exist back in the day. So I just kind of use my own gut feeling, being one of their customers, and talk to other customers. So that's one thing. And then the next thing was trying inbound a little bit. And I'm going to be 100% honest. I think I told Mark Huber too. Inbound is not my strength at all. I'm like an outbound marketer. I don't know what that means, but that's kind of like how I was. So we tried to build inbound, trying to replicate HubSpot playbook. Didn't seem to work, or at least didn't work as quickly as I wanted to, and I didn't have patience.
And then when you say replicate the HubSpot, I'm assuming you mean like creating a blog, creating content,
SEO. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, hold on. We got to unpack some of this stuff. So I think what your skill set is like that. This is the first, people, I get messages from founders or whatever, and they're like, who should my first marketing hire be? I almost always feel like, and look, this is marketing advice, right? There's so much nuance.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to say, right? However, for most companies, product marketing is kind of where you got to start, right? Because the more that my career is going on, 15 years and doing B2B marketing, right? I'm like, oh, it kind of all the features, the tactics, the AI, this comes and goes. The core fundamental skills, the way to the thing that every company is always going to need is strong point of view, positioning, messaging, product marketing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's always one of the last marketing roles that get hired in most startups because it's not measurable. Like it's not like a pipeline. It's not like win rate instantly. It's very fundamental, and people are just impatient. So,
well, I think it is measurable, and you know that obviously, but it's not measurable initially. But I do think that it just depends on your relationship with the founder, the CEO, whoever. Because if like the first measure of it is going to be like, oh, we had no story before. We have a story now. I feel good about our story. I feel good about our deck. I feel good about our website. Okay. We're starting to like attract more customers. We're starting to convert more people. Like people don't like it because it's not some, it's not, we spent $10,000 on AdWords and we got this number back. But like, I do think it's like you move into this house and it's very messy and everything is everywhere. And like, oh, you have this amazing interior designer come in and like everything is set up. It's like, oh, we can live here now. Okay, this is, we can work with this. On the product marketing side, do you have a school of thought that you like? Do you have a positioning framework you like? Like what was the process you went through to kind of like wrangle product marketing for UserGems?
I think back then it was pretty straightforward because the product was pretty simple. But essentially like who it is for and why they're trying to buy your product. I think that one is usually pretty easy for most startup because they usually like build a product for a specific persona. I think the hard part is, especially now in this age, is like, where do you play and why it's going to be you who win? I think that's the parts that's really hard to get the right and objective answer because internally everyone thinks that we're the greatest, of course. But how do you make sure that what you communicate resonates with people who don't know about you?
Yeah, I want to read you this question because I got this question the other day from, I did a Q&A with a marketing team and they asked me this question and I want to hear your answer to it. How do you best differentiate positioning and messaging in a crowded and competitive market, especially with a lot of similar feature offerings?
So I would say like positioning for me is just simply like, who are you for and what do you do? So kind of like your frame of reference. You are X for, I think the messaging is like why someone should care. And typically people usually talk about messaging, like the benefits. Benefit 1, 2, 3. I'm thinking of my Google Sheet. That's a template we use. But in this day and age, especially with AI, can replicate almost every tool. The differentiators are a lot more important. So how do you marry your differentiators in a way that people care? Because everyone's like every product will have a tons of different differentiators, right? But not all of them matter. So how do you pick the one that matter? And that becomes your messaging.
Yeah, I feel like I've been in discussions with product team or sales team and they're like, here are the 7 ways we're different than this other company. And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't stick with somebody. It needs to be like one clear thing. And then also as a marketer, I feel like you don't necessarily own that completely. Doesn't it have to be a product? Like, isn't it like in the DNA of the company, like at a strategy level?
Yeah, it's a leadership level.
It's a leadership level thing, right? So
yeah.
how do you come up with that?
Oh my gosh. Every marketers like PMMs would tell you like this is the hardest thing because not even before you even get to the messaging piece, the first one is like, who do we sell to? Like, who is our core persona? And almost every company I've been at, it's always a debate. Sometimes it's like a top 10 persona. I'm like, oh my God, if you sell to all 10, like who do you sell to?
Yeah. And it gets worse as the company grows, right? You serve
exactly.
all
and
markets.
Different product lines. Right? Yeah. So you got to wrangle that first before you get to the messaging. So data helps, but yeah, the reality is a lot of times you just hope that the leadership believes in the data more so than the gut feel or aspirations.
And do you feel like the leadership team is like this is a collaborative thing, or is like the founder lead this, the head of product? Because it's, you think about the inputs into creating a differentiator, it's like, who do we sell to? What are our competitors doing? What are the features? What features do they have? What opportunity? Like it takes vision. It's not like you just put it in ChatGPT and ask what the differentiator is and get it. It takes vision and belief. Like, hey, this is where we're going. This is where we see the market, and those are the types of founders that you want to work with as a marketer, right?
Yeah, it definitely has to come from the founders, or at least get the strong support and buy-in from the founders, and then everything will cascade down. Every now and then you'll see that there's a strong head of products that is very visionary, but the founder needs to believe in that as well. Otherwise, it's going to go everywhere. How
do you push on that? This comes up a lot in our community. It's like, yeah, we don't have a strong differentiator. I can come up with all the angles in the world, but it needs to be a leadership thing. How would you manage up and push the leadership team on hey, we don't have a clear differentiator here. How do we solve that problem?
I think the first thing I would ask is, if you're already in business, assuming with a certain size of revenue, that means you do have some product market fit. That means those buyers see something in you as differentiators. So I would truly try to talk to people to really peel the onion to see what are the differentiators that made those buyers pick you over someone else. Could be price, could be anything. It might not be the same list that the internal folks want to believe, but I think that's the first part. And then after that, trying to validate it with other prospects, close loss, close ones, that kind of feedback, and then bring that data and insights to the leadership. Because if you start from internally, there are a lot of hopes and dreams internally, especially in startups. So, and also, we also internally, we're the most cynical one. We're like, yeah, we're the same. It's just same. But unless you're just tinkering, like, at the very, very early stage of business, if someone's paying for you, you have something to offer. So you need to find out what it is.
Yeah, and so that could even be like whether you have 5 customers or 500, there's got to be some pocket of like, who is this for? I remember when I was at Drift, we changed our ICP 4 or 5 times in the first year or two because it keeps building on each other. It's like, we have a hypothesis of we think we're going to be for this person. Oh, what interesting. Like, actually, we can be for this person. Maybe not 4 or 5 times, probably two or 3 times. But you can keep building and making this more repeatable. And I think you eventually learn, actually, we started out selling to product marketers, but we are really for demand gen teams. Actually, no, it's a layer deeper than that. It's not demand gen teams, it's inside sales teams, and the marketer buys it to support the inside sales team. So the ICP is inside sales. Okay. And then everyone gets rallied around that, right?
That's so cool. I didn't know how the sausage was made in Drift. We were customers. I went to one of the hypergrowth conferences.
No, which one did you go to? Oh man,
the one in 2019 in San Francisco. And I was blown away by how laser focused in terms of the product messaging, everything that Drift was, is very clear to me as a marketer that this product was built for me and my inside sales. Sure. Which is not the case with a lot of chatbots back in the day.
No, well, that was a key part of the differentiation, which was like, okay, look, chat existed. Everybody knew that chat existed. And so we couldn't come out and say like, no, we're a different type of chat. We're better chat. It was like, no. And the opportunity that they found in the market was like, yes, everybody's used chat. It's a cool exercise in positioning, because I think one of the strongest things you can do as a marketer is it's not necessarily about how you position your company, but what we did is we repositioned the competition in the minds of the people we were selling to. And it's like, intercom? Oh yeah. Because everyone's like, how are you different than intercom? We're like, intercom's great. That product is great, but it's great if you're using in-app messaging, and like all their content was for like product managers and about growth. And so we exploited that by being like, they're really building for product managers. And so it's great for in-app messaging and surveys. What we're doing is built for you, like the demand gen marketer who has the pipeline number on their back. And they're like, people need a story. People want a story. And so when you can say, I'm building this specifically for you, that's why you get a couple hundred people out of hypergrowth and saying like, oh yeah, cool. I mean, it's what attracted me to HubSpot as a 25-year-old marketing manager who had to build a marketing plan for the first time. And I'm like, addicted to all of their content to help me do my job. It's the same thing. And so I think that was one of the things that we leaned into. And on a positioning side of things, the positioning at the company, it was so easy because we had this vision of conversational marketing. Basically everything in the product roadmap, like, fit perfectly under that umbrella. And so first it was chat, and then we acquired this email company. And it was like, at most other companies, you'd be like, all right, how are we going to position this email company? It was like, we knew how we were going to position the email company because David and Elias, the founders, were like, we're expanding the vision of conversational marketing. And so we're saying like, email should be a 2-way channel to communicate. So it's conversational email. Oh, that's genius. And then it was like, we acquired this like video tool. Okay, it's conversational video. And so I think it goes back to the reason the positioning works so well is because at the roadmap and strategy level, like I knew as a marketer, it was super fun because maybe that product didn't exist yet. The roadmap didn't exist yet. But if you asked me, hey, where do you think your product is going in 2 to 3 years? I could tell you that vision. And I think the marketing teams who struggle with positioning, and I've consulted with some of them, I've worked with some of them one-on-one. It's like when there is no vision, it's very hard to do good positioning and to do good product marketing, because I don't know what's going to happen beyond like where the product is today.
Right. But did the vision change since you joined Drift initially? Because you said that the product changed in terms of persona, right? So the vision also changed. It's more like the company aligned on one persona and use case.
Yeah, but I joined they were selling it, but I joined very early. Almost at like the stage when you join UserGems, where it's like, first marketing person, they're selling it. It's not there yet. And it was basically a year or two of like, they were selling this chat product, but we didn't call it conversational marketing yet. it wasn't even until like maybe a couple $1 million in revenue that it was like, oh, this is what it like, this is the repeatability thing. And so I think there was a lot of flexibility. It's like we knew it was going to be a messaging product and chat and probably in the sales and marketing space, but it wasn't perfectly refined until a year or two. Even if you go back and there was like a Series B press release, I know because I wrote it, we called it conversation driven marketing in that press release. We didn't call it conversational marketing yet because we were doing this for a year or two. And then like one time a customer in an email said to us like, oh man, this conversational way of doing marketing has really changed. And we were like, oh, that's it. And so there's this element of like the product marketer in you wants it to be perfect and wants the positioning to be like nailed, but there is some like you just kind of have to, you can't obsess over the name so much. You can't obsess over the what you call it so much. You just need to keep going and collect more feedback. I also joined the company early when it was kind of basically still pre-product, and so there was a lot of exploration. And I think that's an important time to gather all that learning in the phases of a startup,
Yeah. No, I think Drip is definitely one of the best examples when you have alignment in terms of vision, focus, persona, how fast and how clear the messaging, everything will just cascade down the pipeline, everything.
They also had, the founders had vision, right? Like, they could have told you like, what do you think the product's going to be in 10 years from now? They could have told you what they thought it was going to be. And that's the fun thing. That's fun from a marketing standpoint. And I know there's going to be many people listening to this who are like working at a company where like they can't even get the head of product to even tell them the roadmap. Like I saw a question in our we have this like CMO community called CMO Club, and one of the CMOs in there wrote like, how do you get the product team to share the roadmap? And I was like, I can't even relate to that because I've just worked at a company where like the head of product wanted me in those conversations. He's like, oh, he would literally come to my desk and be like, dude, we had this amazing meeting. Are you free right now? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, come here. We had this amazing level of like creativity and collaboration, and he wanted to partner where there's other companies and they don't even like, they share it. They don't share anything with marketing. They don't want to be involved in marketing. And that was, I don't think I wrote about this recently, but like, all the content on LinkedIn and stuff is about like sales and marketing alignment. I don't think there's enough about sales and product alignment and how important that is to the success of being a marketer.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm trying to like reflecting on our own journey as well. Like, I think like for us, like we work really closely with the product team because we are their biggest customers because we use our own product a lot. I think the challenge with our team is that the product team moves really quickly. So it's a great thing. But like, for example, you look at the product roadmap, when I put it on the slide, right? I want to see like 4 quarters ahead. And they're like, no, things going to change really quickly. I'm going to give you 1 quarter. Which I get it, but I'm like, dang it.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, that part is tough. You're like trying to plan this thing you're doing next year.
Yeah, exactly. All the cadence for the launch. How do we sync the 2 team? All that stuff. But anyway.
So you got 11, you're in the teens of millions. You got 11 people on the marketing team. You said you're not an inbound lady. So outbound is your thing. Let's talk about the what is the mix of, like, what does your 11-person marketing team look like? What is working for you? How does UserGems do marketing? That's my question.
Yeah. So on the marketing side, we have like, typical demand, product, content, social, and we have events. We have a fractional event person to help us with that. And then the rest is the ADR team. So we have, I think, 4 ADR and 1 director, roughly around that. So the way we do, we build a program this is really weird. We like the opposite of almost every startup in terms of like how we build our pipeline. So I guess from the budget, like I usually allocate between 80 to 90% on the pipeline activities, so campaigns, programs, and then 10 to 20% on brand, depending on the season and the year, what's going on.
And just to pause on that, because it comes up a lot. When you say brand, like what's in that bucket? T-shirts?
Did you say T-shirts? I think it's just like different investments on like the creative side, things that we know we can't measure. Yeah, a lot of things that we don't really put like an ROI on top of it.
Yeah, that seems to be like a common trend when I talk to CMOs. It's basically that 80-90% is the like true demand gen pipeline generating, like we need to measure the dollars in, dollars out of this. And then there's maybe 10 to 20% that is, hey, we want to start a podcast. Awesome. I believe in that. I don't think we should measure that as sales. And so that's like, we can spend $5,000 a month on that, and that's going to be in this brand bucket.
Yeah. I wonder if that changes if you talk to CMOs in like 100+ million AR. Because I hear that at that range, a lot of their focus is on brands and communications and PR, right?
It must. You ever get off the airplane in Miami and the whole airport is like Cisco billboards?
Yeah.
And none of them even have like the website URL on it. How do you measure that? I don't know. This is why I'm like I've run a podcast for a living. I'm not like a, enterprise CMO, but how do you even know how to spend that? Like, I don't know. So yeah.
I don't know. Brand sentiment survey somehow.
Somehow do a survey.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. But on the pipeline side, so we built it. Basically, the main program for us is account based, which is crazy because most people kind of like different, right? Like paid acquisition. We actually start out with account based is the core outbound. So we pick accounts that we know or think would be good fits to go after them.
Okay. So your marketing motion is driven off of accounts.
Accounts, yeah.
Yeah.
So
and how many are there? What's the universe of accounts?
The universe with 5 ICPs, probably around 15,000. Yeah. And then we just kind of like pick 500-600 per quarter to go after using all kinds of signals to bubble them up, reaching out. So that's kind of like demand and ADRs work together. And then on top of that, those are different programs like close loss nurtures, et cetera, et cetera.
I believe in all the brand stuff and the inbound stuff, but I do think I think there's a lot of one challenge. I think this is it's not for everybody. And what's like the ASP of UserGems? Like what is a customer roughly?
Around like high 20, 30.
Okay. 30, so you're not selling like, a $29 a month, like
no
subscription, right? So it's different. I think that world is more high volume inbound, right? But in this world, like I do think a lot of the kind of BS and the nonsense that we fight with sales and marketing alignment and how do you measure marketing? Like it's usually not an issue at companies that are account based and driven by accounts because alignment, you're hey, these are the 500 accounts we're trying to sell to this quarter. We're going to measure our success by like penetration among those accounts.
Yes.
Right. We're not like, oh, we wrote this blog post and 15 people put their emails in on it. It's measuring. It's a much more tangible way to measure like the alignment of sales and marketing. And we're working together to get into these accounts. No one's arguing over credit. Did marketing do this or not? It's like, oh, did we get a meeting at one of those accounts? Then like everyone high fives, right?
Yeah, 100%. I don't know why. Well, I don't know why not as many companies just adopt this. I mean, I understand that there's legacy systems, incentives, that kind of structure in a way that didn't encourage this. But it's a company buying the product. It's their company's name on a DocuSign. Why are you fighting? Just work together.
We fight because of internal metrics. It's like I don't get my performance bonus if 6,000 people didn't read our blog or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so you got 15,000, you got however 15,000 accounts, you focus on 500 to 600 of them a quarter. What are the tactics of like actually going out and executing that? There is Acme Corp and they're on your account list. Everyone's always like, so what do you do? Do you just start calling them? You start emailing them? Like, how do you do that? I want to, maybe we can just use like a made up account as an example, but take us into like, how do you do that?
Yeah. So kind of like the whole work stream, right? The first step is like, how do we pick which accounts to go after when? So we use all kinds of signals to bubble up. Like, do they have any like past champions just join? Any new hires? Are they just raise funding? Are they hiring? Basically all of that, right? We give those scores. So in the Salesforce report, we rank all ICP accounts based on the total scores, the fit and the signals. And then the ABM team would just grab the first 500 every quarter. And then they would start focusing on the creative. So we do 1-to-1 ABMs a lot. So like all these accounts will have their own set of campaigns that they're going to be served. So is the creative, like you think of a hook that would apply to everyone? Like what's the campaign we're running for UserGems this quarter? Or is it like account specific? It's account specific. Oh, it's a mix. So each campaign will have multiple creatives, right? So we have like some mix of like highly personalized to that account. And some is kind of like one-to-many messaging, but with their logo, for example. So that's on the marketing side. And then while the marketing team's creating all those creatives, the ADRs start preparing for the outreach. So in the past, like every Friday, the ADR teams would have like a prospecting hours that they would kind of go down their list of accounts and then select prospects. And because they know how the marketing team picks these accounts based on signals. They look for those signals in Salesforce, basically grab all the people that most likely to buy, add them into outreach. So since September last year, we use our own AI to automatically grab all these people, put them into sequences, and write emails for the reps as well. And that's it.
That's it.
That's it. And then we start tracking every quarter. Did they convert? Did they not? What's going on? How the spend going?
And are there? What are the channels like? So email. So you're sending outbound email.
Email, calls, LinkedIn, digital.
And it's all one to one. So like I'm at, if Exit5 was on your target list of accounts, I'm going to go to LinkedIn and I'm going to see a ad creative for my company.
Yeah, it was like, hey, Exit5.
Yeah, what tool are you using for that creative?
Blood, sweat, and tears. Just Canva and campaign
and you're
managers.
making 500 versions of that creative?
Oh yeah, with humans. Humans are great. Yeah, no, we've run this for almost 6 years. ABM was the first program that we started like generating pipeline way back when. So we have a very well-oiled machine. It's just assembly line, and then you templatize it, and then things just, yeah.
Is the company still bootstrap? Did they raise
money?
money?
We raised. We did raise in 21. Yeah, Series A.
But it doesn't seem like there's crazy high venture back goal. Like it doesn't seem like you're on this. You've been there for 5 years. Company's growing nicely. It doesn't seem like you have these crazy growth goals that make marketing like unattainable.
I think,
or maybe you do. Says the person who's not CMO at the company. Yeah.
I'm like, look at all these like gray hair. No, I think our leadership team and the board pretty reasonable when the market was unpredictable in the last couple of years. But before that, we were tracking along with like the typical, triple, double, all that fun stuff. But I think the team, the leadership team is pretty seasoned and,
And so the campaign you described to me, is that like your main motion? And then are you doing other stuff to surround that?
That one is now just one of the many. It was the main motion for a long time. And now we have like the usual like paid acquisition throughout the buyer journey, nurturing, retargeting, all that stuff. We retarget people during sales process too. So when they talk to AEs, we also like help them multi-thread to other people. And then we apply all of those campaigns that we do in the pre-sales also to post-sales.
What about as far as like showing the product experience, right? So you kind of the main thing you're trying to drive people to is to request a demo or book a demo, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the majority of our CTAs.
But I don't want to talk to sales. I want to see the product. I want to have a free trial.
Yeah. The hard thing for us, so like to see the product is something we're working on. I think for so long, UserGems product is kind of like set it and forget it. We wanted to make it so seamless. So there wasn't much to show because it's just, workflows, data. I think that's already changed. So we're working on something that to show so people can kind of like experience it, especially with the AI aspect. But on the second part is like the free trial. This one's a little bit tricky because we did test with this over 5 years. Like when we give people trials, it's a little bit hard because then your sales cycle becomes really long because people waiting to see how their own trial turned out in terms of pipeline, and we couldn't influence it. And when it's free, people actually don't pay attention to it as much and put as much resources. Because for UserGems to work, you need to connect to your CRM. So it's like a jet fuel for your pipeline.
Right.
It's not just a one-off.
You need the data. There's no way to like show that without. Yeah. Okay. You wrote just before this, you actually wrote, we hit our Q4 targets. My proudest metric is this one. Pipeline grew 26% while our spend decreased 27%. We effectively doubled our outbound capacity. This time last year, I was one of the biggest naysayers when it came to AI for outbound. Doesn't seem like that's true anymore. Let's talk about AI. Let's talk about how you decrease the spend, and let's just talk about where does AI fit in your, toolbox as a marketer, and how has it helped you specifically with outbound?
Yeah, this one's for outbound specifically. Obviously, like the target always increase. So like the pipeline growing, that's a given. The spend, there are two aspects of the spend. One is the program spend, and second one is just like the headcount capacities, right? The program spend, one thing is because we want to make sure that the company can grow efficiently and have a healthy runway. Another thing is because I'm a crazy boss. So our team is extremely strong in paid. Too strong that like our ads are like really catchy. People love it, but we too good at it. It's really hard to wean the team off of it. But I want the team to figure out other programs and channels. So at one point, we're trying to do it for a long time, couldn't do it because it's so addictive to get the paid performance. So at one point I'm like, okay, we're going to cut this. This is the max we're going to spend on paid. Figure out how to hit the number. So that's part of it. The second part is the
constraints. It's not you're laughing about it, but like constraints and guardrails make a big difference, right?
It was very stressful for all of us, all of us. But yeah, I think you gotta kind of like wean yourself off of it. Second piece on the ADR capacity piece. So we coincidentally many of our ADRs happen to have babies during September, October, November. So naturally, the capacity was slashed in half. And then this was when we rolling out our own AI agent. I told the team I don't want to market something until I'm like convinced. I need to see that it works for us. So you can kind of like see all the stars align in hindsight. So we use the AI to augment the capacity of ADRs that we didn't have, and everything just worked out as if we planned it. But it was very nerve-wracking to kind of like see would it get there. So yeah, so that's how we got to the Q4 result.
Okay, so it's a little bit of a forcing function, which is great. I mean, that's how this stuff happens, but it also is like a good lesson of like, if you want to make a change in your team, you had a natural one, but sometimes can you just force, here are the guardrails, go figure it out, go make it happen.
And we uncovered some like non-paid channels that it took me a very long time to convince our team.
Look at you doing inbound stuff. It's not just
outbound,
my God. Right? So what are you excited about in marketing right now for the company, for the team?
Gosh, everyone's like, of course you're going to say this. It's AI. But now I'm a believer because I'm like, heck, it does work. Like as long as you kind of like think about it through fundamentally and then set the guardrails and try to do it. So I'm really, really excited about this because we just did our planning for this year, and then the pay team is like, yay, we hit our goal. Here's a new goal. Like, can we increase our spend? I'm like, how about now? Figure out how we can do it together with the increasing spend first until this whole thing breaks, and then we put money in it. So I'm really excited to try use AI to grow the team capacity. And then another thing is like how to bring AI into the workflows of the rest of the marketing team and the rest of the company. Not as in like we have an AI project, but more like think about like the daily workflow. How do we weave it in naturally? And I think the outbound side's getting there, but the rest of the company is not quite yet. It's still kind of like a ad hoc one-off.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of learning. It's like being like, I keep going back to like, it's like marketers discovering the internet. We got to figure out how to use it and how to use it in the right way and how to use it in a way that like, if everyone's doing the same thing, well, what's going to be the opportunity? So if everyone's blasting people with the same AI outbound messages, then of course it's not going to work. And so what is the opportunity to make it yours? And that is like the creative exercise as a marketer. Exactly.
I feel like it's very easy for people to see kind of like one step ahead, kind of like, oh, everyone's going to do the same thing. But then how about we push ourselves to think about like 2-3 steps ahead of that? Like
that's always been true though. Like it's like everybody, start a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast. Start an email. Start doing email. Everyone's doing email. Start going to events. Everyone's doing events. It's everyone's always going to copy what everybody else is already doing. So it's like, how do you innovate within that opportunity?
Exactly. But yeah, so I'm really excited about that. It's funny you mentioned that. Same thing with webinars. I'm trying to convince the teams that like webinars, I know it's not sexy, but it's just a medium. They're like, okay, boomer. No one buys anything from webinars or emails. I'm like, it's just we only have limited channels to reach somebody. Okay.
Yeah. I'll talk to them, but I guess I'm a boomer too. I'm 37. That would make me a boomer in this generation of how the people we work with. But a webinar, how is a webinar different than you watch YouTube, right? You watch TikTok. It's an information source, right? And like, you're selling a product, right? So your UserGems customers is like, who's your ideal customer? Demand gen? Yeah.
Demand gen sales leaders as well.
Okay, so you're focused on demand gen and sales leaders who want to grow pipeline and increase sales inside their company. The best opportunity for UserGems is to be positioned as like an expert in helping you do that. And we're going to do an hour session on helping you do that. And so maybe 100 people will show up live, and that's great. Maybe 500 people will watch the replay and get it recorded later. It's also like a Trojan horse for creating content, not to help you pitch the webinar to your team, but I'm using this on this podcast as an example to just show like how all these tactics and techniques can be timeless when you zoom all the way out and think about, well, are we caught up on the term webinar, or are we thinking about what the delivery actually is, right?
Yeah, exactly. I should have talked to you like a year ago. The team's now bought in because by chance, I figured out how to call webinars, call a show. So like an Isaac show or an ABM masterclass show. Then like, oh, show's cool. It's still webinar.
It's still a webinar. We do them once a month for Exit 5, and we just call them live sessions. And I make a joke, and I'm like, it's a webinar. You can call it a webinar, but they're good. Also think there's huge value in doing these shows, webinars, live sessions beyond the direct sales ROI, because even just like I've been taking notes this whole time in this podcast, right? Anytime you do something like this, it's like having a sales meeting. It's like having a pitch, right? You're refining your story. And so like, even if people don't buy UserGems because of the webinar, what if your pitch just got like 10% better, or like you found something that you said on this webinar that was like, chat like lit up when you said that. It's like, oh, that's a signal that we can use. It's like a stand-up comedian like testing their material in a way. And I think that's such a valuable piece of marketing.
I love that. I'm going to use that analogy of stand-up comedian. I think that will land very well.
It's like you got to be pitching. Right. I mean, think about like when you join UserGems, right? You're the first person, you're doing product marketing, you're just testing the messaging, right? And so like, right now you have this thing on your site, Outbound AI that converts without cringe on January 15th. Great. Maybe that helps you accelerate deals. Maybe that helps you, bring in new people. Maybe you just learned that like this topic crushes it. And now we have a whole new set of creative and stuff we can be doing around this like outbound that isn't cringe concept. There's a lot there. Anyway, Trinity, it was great to hang out with you. Good to see you. Good to have you on the podcast. I hope maybe we can get you to one of our events, or I don't know. We can, we need a I know you're tired of Miami, but we need a Miami event.
Oh my gosh. If you come to Miami, that'd be awesome. Let me know. I'll help you source locations. Jane Sarah from Dextra, woman, B2B.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. She's also here as well. So we will help you put an event together.
Yeah. There's an awesome group of CMOs down in Miami. All right, Trinity, great to see you. Go check out UserGems. Go follow Trinity on LinkedIn. That's my favorite is, you've never been on the podcast before. My favorite thing is like after we put your episode out and 3 weeks later, you send me an email and you're like, I didn't know you had so much reach. I got 15 messages from people on LinkedIn. So that's what I want. Maybe you go work with her. Maybe you could go buy UserGems, just hang out. Just that's the best type of feedback. So go find Trinity on LinkedIn and follow her. Okay. All right. See you later.
Thanks so much, Dave.